Go. We can catch up later.
Great. Hello and welcome. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of our podcast network and everything we do. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump and UConn legendary men's basketball player Jake Voskuhl. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large or small. They will save you money or get you a big fat return on your taxes. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, slip and fall, a car accident, your mother-in-law ran you over with her car, your wife got angry one night and decided to stab you, the Finch Firm is for you. Pete has won legal battles all across the state of Connecticut. He will go to war to get every dollar you deserve in compensation. You just have to remember, in a pinch, call Finch or go to his website, thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, all sports. He has a boot camp program 7 days a week, 6 a.m. You want to get in shape, you go to Andre. He has an athletic development program where he trains boys and girls in the sport of their choice from the ground up, helps them reach their full potential, be the best they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls to college on scholarship for all different types of sports. To work with the best, he has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Hartford, Connecticut. Go to www.dynamichumanperformance.com. All right, and here we are for A Huskies Health with the man himself, former UConn star, mental health advocate, champion for fathers' rights, and the host of the hit podcast, All Black Men Need Therapy, Mr. Chris Bellamy. Christopher.
What's up, Cully?
Great to see you. Great to see you. So we were just talking yesterday on Julius Williams on his show, and we had some questions, and I wanted to get your take on this. So the quarterback at Texas Tech, Brendan Sorsby, he's in treatment right now for gambling addiction.
Oh, wow.
And he could be suspended by the NCAA and definitely lose his eligibility because when he was a redshirt freshman at Indiana, he bet on Indiana to win. And he allegedly placed thousands of bets from here until Cincinnati, where he was at this past season. And he transferred to Texas Tech for his fifth year. So they put him in treatment. He hired a heavy hitter attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, who represented basically the House versus NCAA, where they won, which allowed players to use name, image, and likeness to make money. He also represented Tom Brady in Deflategate. So, wow. A lot of people were asking, with this gambling thing and college athletes and dealing with mental health, if you watch any college sporting event on TV, you see commercials nonstop for DraftKings or any other online gambling service. Yeah. And the NCAA legalized gambling for college athletes in 2023 as long as it was not on your own sport. So we were debating that the NCAA has some culpability here, I believe, because again, they opened Pandora's box. You're giving kids who have disposable income the opportunities to bet on sports, just as long as it's not the one that they play in. And I don't know that there's enough around them, guiding them, saying, hey, you can do this, you can do that, like we had with compliance that kind of came in and told us how everything was going to go. So he is facing an NCAA investigation, and he possibly could lose his entire eligibility. And my question is, do you believe that that is fair? He placed thousands of bets from 2022 to 2025, mostly small bets. And the crux of it is when he was at Indiana, he bet on Indiana. And my argument was he was 18 years old, 19 years old. He was a kid. And I think retroactively punishing him for that is wrong, especially since they legalized gambling. So I wanted to see what you thought of the situation.
Yeah, man, it's like it's a theme, right? It's a theme. It's the question is why the NCAA legalized gambling, right? Like that's the question, and the answer is for more money,
Exactly.
right? Like that's it. Like so, the NCAA tournament just wrapped up a month ago or so, and fun fact: I've only done one bracket my whole life ever. I've only done one bracket, right? And here's why. Here's why. So this is all going to tie in because when we were in college, we couldn't bet.
We could not.
So which means we couldn't do brackets, right? Because that's betting. That's
Very
the NCAA violation. And
Yep.
as you forementioned, our compliance team, shout out to Bill Schultz,
He
they
was on
weren't
top
playing
of it.
around. They
Yeah.
were not playing around. And so as a result, by default, I never gambled or I never bet on sports. I just never did. So I was almost conditioned to not do brackets come NCAA tournament time. And it wasn't a big deal to me. It doesn't matter what bracket I do, what year I do. I'm always picking UConn, right? So it doesn't matter. But that's a condition. Like, so the opposite can be true.
That's what I think. Yeah, I think it
Like, so
changed
it's like
completely.
if you're you're giving me money. In a lot of cases, more money than I may ever see again, right? 2, I'm a kid, right? I'm 19, 18, 20, whatever. We can have the whole frontal lobe cortex development conversation, right? Regardless of that, right? He's in college. He's a college student. So where Kelly, I feel like we have the same conversation all the time. Like, where are the parameters? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that was my thing.
Where are the guardrails? Like, you're telling him he can bet, but you can't bet on your sport. How about just tell him they can't bet at all? Then there will be no argument. Then if he bet, he wasn't supposed to bet. That's on him. But you're saying that I can bet, but I can't bet on my sport, but I can bet on everything else. You know what I mean? So, because the reality is, he could always just give his roommate the money to bet on his team.
That's the thing, third party.
Right? So it's like, but why did they do it? They did it because it's a money grab. Dude, I'm preaching to the choir, I know. But Cully, you can bet on anything.
No, I know you can. I've
anything. You can bet on words that are going to be said.
You can bet on the weather tomorrow.
Dude, it is insane. And I mentioned I had in the group chat with all the guys, I'm like, I wish everything wasn't monetized. Like, everything is monetized. Like, you can't watch a sporting event without a DraftKings, right? FanDuel or whatever the case. Like, everybody and their mother is endorsing this. So you know what it's like?
That's my point.
And this might be extreme, but in my opinion, it feels like the equivalent. It feels like how the big tobacco companies were pushing cigarettes on everybody, even kids.
Yeah.
Right. Fred Flintstone was smoking cigarettes in cartoons. So that's what it feels like. Like, it feels like this is, you got to think, man, it wasn't that long ago that bookies were some of the lowest people on earth, right? According to society. right? Like,
100%.
and now because the government is backing it, and NCAA is backing it, now it's acceptable. Come on, man. So I don't blame the
And
kid.
Joe D was talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, this is the tip of the iceberg. This is just the kid who got caught." And I just think it's horrible that it happened. And I know that you're supposed to know right from wrong, but I think the NCAA has culpability in this. It's not all on the kid.
Yeah,
Like you said.
they're creating the environment to allow it. That's
Yes.
it. They're creating the environment to allow it. Now, it's like by and large, you're saying is there's nothing wrong with it, but then there's stipulations. It's like
Right.
by and large,
Right.
like
That's right.
it's like you can speed if it's only 5 miles over the speed limit. Anything over that though is you can get in trouble. But it's like you just told me I can speed.
That's a great analogy. That's really
So it's
true.
like no, I don't blame the kid at all, man. I feel bad for the kid, but Cully, to Joe D's point, shout out to Joe D. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and this is just one sector.
I know.
Right? I'm telling you, like how the inception of this podcast started because of A Huskies Health. It's the mental health of these kids when they reach adulthood. Dude, I was just telling a story. I was on vacation 2 weeks ago, and I was telling a story how you and I both played with people who, if they didn't make it in football, they were going to be society's problem.
Oh yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you think is going to happen to these kids who were good, right? Just not good enough to go to NFL, which is the majority of us, by the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not good enough to go to NFL. And let's just say they were making a modest $100,000 a year, modest $100,000 a year. And now they're done.
Yeah.
And now they transfer twice, 3 times. They don't have their degree. Let's just say they do have their degree. They don't have any experience doing anything. Now, hopefully it works out, right? Hopefully it works out. But there's a possibility that there's identity issues because of who they were, how much money they were making, right? So they can't effectively convert that to a career, right? Maybe. Like these are scenarios. Like I have friends to this day that have graduated 20 years ago, and they just dropped their football identity maybe 6 years ago. Right. And they weren't making the type of money that these kids are making. So everybody's different. And obviously we don't know how it's all going to work out. But what I'm saying is too much of anything isn't good. And you give these kids exposure to capital, you give them exposure to vices, as in gambling. Like, and then what happens when they're not making as much money as they once were while in college? And you're saying you can gamble on basketball all you want. Then what? Then who's there to help them after they graduate? And they've created these habits.
They just get thrown to the wolves.
So no, I do not blame the kid, man. I blame the corporations that have allowed this to be so mainstream that you can't go without seeing it.
No, I agree. Okay, you have a question. How do you think coaches can create basically a psychological safe environment that encourages kids to come forward with mental health issues, or if they're suffering from some vulnerability?
Well, that's layered, and here's why I say that. Because, and I don't know, right? Like, I haven't played in this era, but my first question would be, do the coaches care enough to do that?
That's what I was going to say too.
I'm just going to assume for the sake of this argument that they do, right? I'm just going to assume for the sake of this argument that they do. But that's my first question, because the challenge with NIL, the challenge with transfer portal, the challenge with all these things is everybody really just became a number.
Yeah.
Everybody, coaches included,
Yeah.
everybody became a number. So the short answer to that question is layered, but the short answer to that question is that coach has to be the message. What I mean by that is vulnerability creates community. So
Yeah. It does.
if a coach is opening up to that team about some of their challenges, I was just watching Deion Sanders was giving an interview and was talking to some kids, and he was talking about his challenges in college, right? Which are probably are more similar to these kids because Deion had money, right? Because he played for the Yankees, so he got a
Correct.
contract.
Yeah.
So he opened up about some of those things. Again, different generations, different times, but that coach, I'm just talking about Deion right now, but that person is now human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a coach opening up. Like when I took over, not the same, but when I took over the operation here in Boston, I took it over in 2021, and it's obviously a major market, for it was a major market in general, but a major market for my company, and it was a lot of challenges in that office. There's a lot of challenges, and the best advice I was given, because Boston's always had a stigma. It's like it's hard to manage that group, right? And the best advice I was given from a mentor, he said, Chris, whatever you were eventually going to share with them about you, like personally, do it the first call. Do it the first call. He's like the first call because this was COVID, right? So we weren't in person, so everything was
Right.
on Teams. So he said, whatever it is that you would eventually get to it on the first call. And one thing that I shared, I got vulnerable. The one thing I shared was I said, when I was born, my dad was in prison, and I talked about that, and I talked about growing. I said he's been there ever since, but he was in prison. Cully, 3 people on that team came up to me the next day, telling me that they never told anybody that their dad was in prison, but their dad was in prison, and they felt seen, and like we had an instant bond and a connection, and there it was 2 dads and 1 mom, all white collar crimes, right?
Right.
All white collar crimes. Like I don't know anybody who went to prison for what their family went to prison for,
Right.
like personally, right? So,
Right.
but they felt like they could share that with me.
Yes.
So we had an instant connection because I went there. So I don't think it's any different because I was leading a team. It's no different than these coaches in the sense that vulnerability creates community. So when I was vulnerable, that created a community for them to share that with me because now it's not a stigma. Now it's like, oh, he's just like me. If anybody understands it, it's him. So that's how you do it, and but being a coach, especially at this level, dude, it's a lot of ego, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they can't be. I'm just saying it's a lot of ego. Edsel wasn't vulnerable, right?
Not at
Edsel
all.
wasn't
No.
vulnerable at all,
Nope.
but he also wasn't coaching in this game.
That's how. Yeah. That's how he was
Like
brought
he
up.
he could coach how he wanted to coach because if we wanted to transfer, we had to sit out at minimum 1 year,
Right.
2 years if we transferred in the Big East
In
Conference.
conference.
So it's like, where the hell are we going? Unless we transfer down, which we could have done that, but right, like why? So yeah, man, that's easier said than done, but that's the simplistic answer.
But that shows a lot of leadership in you. And do you think that you would have opened up naturally if it wasn't for
No,
you? Really wouldn't have.
nope,
It took.
because I'm guarded, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Right.
but I'm coachable. So that's the thing. So if I'm stepping into a role that I've never done, again, I just got promoted,
Right.
and I'm going to listen to those who were successful before me, right? And because I'm coachable, and I'm like, well, if they're telling me to do this, I can't dismiss it, right? Because I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know this team. They heard of me, but they don't know
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I may have had some ego where it's like, no, like they'll. And what I told them was this because it made sense. What I told them was this. I said, we got to go, meaning our team, right? Like we got to drive a number, we got to roll. So I
Yeah.
don't want you trying to figure out who I am as I'm coaching you in real time. I want you to know who I am. And I'm going to take this time to learn who you are. But you're going to all my cards are going to be on the table. You're going to know exactly who I am, what I value, right? What not to do, what to do. And then my job is then to learn you because you're going to know me, So that's the approach I took. Now, no, I would not have done that if I wasn't instructed to. Now I'm glad I did. And now when I
Yeah.
go into new teams, now that's the approach I take. But that's
That's really
that's
smart to do that right away.
I mean, it's again, man, that's political savviness, that's high EQ, right? That I did not know to do. So I'm not bragging, right?
No, no,
I was following instructions
but
and
it
it
still
worked
takes a
out.
lot to do that. It
Yeah,
still
and
takes a lot to open up like
but
that.
but but that's the thing when you're in leadership, it's like there it takes a level of humility, right? It also takes ego. So I'm not about to dismiss ego. It takes ego to be a badass to lead a badass team. Like I understand that. However, you can't be above reproach. Like you can't be above like I man, there was so much shit that Edsel didn't know about because nobody felt comfortable going to him with
You're
that. Now,
100% right. Yeah.
and that's not necessarily a knock on him, right? That was just his leadership style. We had our position coaches that we had
Yes.
closer connections with that we can talk to, and that's just how he ran his organization, and there was nothing wrong with it. But what I'm saying is there we often weren't playing for him, right? We were playing for ourselves, playing for our position coach, whatever the case. Our positions, right? Like if we're our running back group, the offensive line group, whatever. So,
Yeah.
but again, man, and I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but that's tough when you may only have guys for a year, but that's the commitment. Like
That
that's
is
what I'm
true.
saying. Like you still have to show up that way, regardless of what they do, because it's not about them, it's about you. Like it's about them understanding who you are. So then they can make a decision on what they want to do. And you can figure out if you want to keep them, So you gotta
Yeah. Yeah.
everything is microwave now, Cully. Everything is microwave, man. So you kind of got to get there as fast as you can.
And you said this. I mean, you said you believe in 4 to 5 years there is going to be a mental health crisis with a lot of these athletes because you are going to have kids who transferred multiple times and may not leave with degrees. You are going to have kids who are used to six-figure incomes and now they don't have the resources or the wherewithal to figure it out. And again, I think that's on the NCAA to put this in motion for some of these colleges to at least have support staff to prepare the kids so they know, like, hey, this isn't going to last forever. This can't be your identity forever.
Hmm.
I get that you are that now, but you have to understand 10 years from now, that's not going to be you. I mean, do you think that's something that should be in place at different universities, having a support staff to kind of do that?
I think so, man. But unfortunately, and let me not paint with a broad brush because I have heard of universities that are taking measures in this space. But I almost feel like it should be mandatory,
Yeah.
in some degree, to some degree, because what I was gonna say is I feel unfortunately, I feel like we are a reactive society.
Oh, 100%.
So unfortunately, I feel and not that there hasn't been crisis, right? There's been a number of kids taking their own lives,
Yeah.
rookies in the NFL, kids in college. Um, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to move the needle right now. Proactively, I think it's going to have to be a wave of unfortunate events
Yeah,
to
to make
prompt
it happen.
some type of change, right? That change could come from NCAA. They could change the profit sharing. They could change how NIL is set up. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I don't. I think it costs far less to have mandatory. Um, let's just call it life coaches, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
psychologists, psychiatrists, some type of life coaching for these kids while they're in school. I just almost like what CPIA was to us, but like specifically for mental health. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. No, because it's part of everyday life, and I think it's only going to get worse as it goes on. Um,
Unfortunately, you're right.
what do you think about the new rule that the NCAA just passed? They're trying to limit, 25-year-olds from playing college football. It's going to be 5 for 5. You'll have 5 years to play 5 years. You can play all 5 years. And it starts at 19 and it ends at 24. And anything over that, you are ineligible. And the only exception is, I guess, a medical red shirt. Do you think that
You know
is
how many
gonna?
medical red shirts we're gonna see?
That's exactly what I was thinking. But yeah, do you think that the 5 for 5 rule is going to make an impact on any of this? With having more eligibility, or is it going to make things worse with kids? Still staying in college 6
So
years.
let me ask you this, Cully. You may or may not know the answer. What happens in the scenario like Adam Cole, God rest the dead? Like Adam Cole's when he comes over from Australia, he's older already.
Yeah,
So
they they just talked about this situation. St. John's signed a
oh, I
transfer
think I heard about
for
this. Yeah.
the basketball player
Hmm.
who is 24. So he is only going to have 1 year of eligibility now.
Oh wow. So
Yeah.
it's a hard line in the sand. Yeah.
Yeah. They're putting it into effect because, well, Joe Figiano, 7 years of eligibility. Pavia had 6 years or 7 years of eligibility. Diego Pavia, the Vanderbilt quarterback. Trinidad Chambliss the quarterback from Ole Miss, just got
Yeah.
approved for a 6 year.
Yeah.
It
I think
just goes
I
on and
think
on.
I think it's good. Because here's what's happening, dude. The people declaring for the draft is also going down, right? So like
Much lower, yes.
because the draft or the NFL doesn't have the allure it once did.
No,
Like it doesn't have the allure because
the pay scale
the
isn't
the
as
the, the,
high.
the pay scale, the listen, man, like going to the NFL is great, right? If you can do it. Um, but if you can't, playing a fifth year is also great, right?
I
Like,
would have given, yeah, I would have given everything for a 5th year.
so like
Absolutely.
if I could have played 5 years, yeah, man. Like anyway, I think that's good. I think that's good for the game. I mean, it's good to see them doing something.
Yeah,
You know what I
no,
mean?
I mean
Like
they're trying.
the
They
the
are
the, the
trying.
train was coming off the tracks, man. So it's good that they're doing something. I think that'll help, and I think that'll also put more fire under people because I mean I think 5 years to play five is it's
Well,
that's an
you
exceptional rule. Like I think
yeah.
that's but if that's the rule, then yeah, then you got to get in and get out. So now the that includes JUCO. So if they go to JUCO for 2, they still only have 3.
Yes, because of the age.
The
Yes,
age, yeah. So it's whatever
it's
comes
gonna be
first.
the age requirement. Yes.
Yeah.
Um. So, how would you say, because you manage a team at work, you distinguish normal competitiveness or normal stress from guys on your team, and that from apart from maybe someone who may be burnout or someone who's struggling? Are there signs that you can see that tells you kind of where they're at?
I forgot where I heard this from. Oh, it's from a psychotherapist, Elliot Connie. We had him on the podcast a little while ago. he talked about healing and what people deem as healing. And he said all healing is how you respond to things.
Yeah.
If you overreact to something that didn't warrant that reaction, then there's something that needs to be healed. Right? So if somebody cuts you off in traffic and you are throwing shit at them from your car, there's something there, right? Because that shouldn't have warranted that type of behavior. So not that I had
That makes
that
sense. Yeah.
I didn't have that language, but that's what I would look for. Like if I'm having a conversation with somebody about performance or about whatever, and it goes off the rails, and I'm like, man, like what's up? Like what's going on? And then it's like, well, I got this going on, I got this going on, I got that going on. Okay, go home. Right? Go home. Take the day, man. You don't need to be here right now. Like take care of what's important to you or what's causing this stress, right? Because you being here is making things worse, believe it or not. So that's typically because the other thing too,
That's really cool that you do that.
yeah, man, because dude, listen, work is gonna be here tomorrow, the day after. Like that's never gonna change. But if you can help somebody get through something personally, right? What's the old saying? People don't quit on a job, they quit on the boss. All right. So
That's yeah.
it's like if you and plus I can sleep well at night, right? So if I've given this person every opportunity to do what they need to do to be successful and they're still not successful and I got to make a decision,
Yeah.
right? I can sleep with a good conscience. Like I gave them every opportunity to do something different than what they did. But that's the thing, man. And sometimes with like high achievers, sometimes it's your peers that catch it. Like if
No,
I'm
you're right.
if I'm approaching burnout, my wife will say something. Like she'll say something. She'll be like, "You might want to slow down." Right? And of course, I'll snap. I'm like, "What do you mean
Right.
I'm gonna slow down? I'm gonna do this. I gotta do that." And then I'll come to the realization, like, no, she's right. Like I,
And you
I
get
am I am
centered.
doing a lot, and I'll get centered. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's there's
But it's good that you have the awareness so to realize that and you don't
yeah,
take it further.
and listen, I don't have a magic ball, right? But like, yeah, I do my best. But I, when you do your best to build deep, meaningful relationships, you not always, be clear, not always, but more often than not, you can pick up on these things that are happening, and sometimes you can help, and sometimes you can't. But having a conversation sometimes is all that is necessary in a lot of cases too. So
Yeah. And you earn the trust of them to do that.
yeah.
Um, what would you say is the top or would be a top self-care habit that all athletes, college athletes could use, because a lot of them don't really have self-care for themselves. They're always
That-
on the move,
That's a good question. That's a great question.
I didn't ask you.
Um, um, I think some of us during that time were not as comfortable with silence as we should be or could be. And I feel like I think back to my college days, it's like you're doing something always. Like your homework, partying, social life, practice, treatment, workouts, you're doing something all the time. And I think that's good because it shows you how to get things done under pressure, get things done under stress. But I don't know that taking a break was talked about enough.
It wasn't.
And you know, and I think that's one thing that they can do is disconnecting. And I'm not saying for a day, for an hour, right? Just be by yourself. because sometimes you don't
I agree.
know all the shit that you're dealing with until you slow down. You
No,
know,
you don't.
like I would highly recommend meditation if but I understand that with people's mental health journey sometimes they're not there, and I get that. It took me a while to get there, but I mean, if I was meditating in college, it would have given me so much more clarity. But I didn't know what I didn't know. So,
No.
but in short, taking time for yourself, whatever that looks like for you, right? If that's a car ride, right? That's where I get a lot of my clarity. If I go on a long car ride, I'll get a lot of my clarity there. But that's it. However, whatever that looks like for you, but just taking some time, quiet time to yourself, whatever quiet time means to you.
All right. The last one I'll give you is basically athletes who want to ask for help. Is there a certain way to go about it? Is there a certain phrase or sentence they can use? Is it about going to their coach? Is it about going to support staff, with someone who's struggling?
It's about going wherever they feel safe. So,
Oh, that's right.
so for instance, the podcast, All Black Men Need Therapy. At the end of every episode, we tell people reach out to us via email, reach out to us via our voice line. And our voice line is 860-461-6160. So, and people leave us voicemails and we call them back and we tell them we're not therapists, but some people have been
Oh, that's
listening
really
to us.
cool.
They've been listening to us for so long that they
They
feel like they
feel
know
like they,
us.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So they
yeah.
call and they'll talk about their challenges. We'll call them back. We'll text them back. Whatever the case, right? Because we understand that not everybody's going to go see a therapist, but the argument that we make is that you may not have either maybe resources for a therapist, but if we can just be an ear, we're open to be an ear, right? We're not going to have the answers more than likely, but we're here to talk through it with you if that's what will help you. Because I mean, dude, the
That's what a
amount of
lot of people just need. You're right.
yeah, because the amount of letters or emails we've received about people about to do bodily harm to themselves before they called us. It's crazy. Like, and
Yeah,
sometimes you
I
just
can
don't
see.
understand the impact that you have. But that's what I would say. Just go to wherever you find whatever you deem as a safe space and have that conversation there.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely put the number in the show notes because you definitely have a lot of questions. But no, I listen. I appreciate you taking the time and coming back
For
and
sure.
doing this. And it's a delicate subject moving forward. And I do agree with you. Like these athletes need support systems, and the colleges need to build them in. And
Yeah.
I fear, like what you said, it's going to end up being reactionary. It's going to take something happening before they do make a move.
And we hope
But
not, but that's
yeah, no,
knowing
I
how we
know.
operate, that's where we're trending, unfortunately.
But yeah, again, Chris Bellamy, former UConn star, mental health advocate, champion for fathers' rights, host of the hit podcast All Black Men Need Therapy. I'm Steve Cully, best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges,